Good afternoon. This is the Board of County Commissioners Agenda Review. This is a regular meeting. It is Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. It is 3:04 p.m. This session is set to go until 4 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting. We're at 3000 Pacific Avenue, room 110. For public and virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Karen Manser. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. Also in the boardroom, we have County Manager Ramiro Chavez, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell. We also have staff joining us, as well as two elected officials. We have Sheriff Derek Sanders, as well as Treasurer Jeff Ganman joining us for the agenda setting review. So first item on our agenda is review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting of February 28th, 2023. And the reason we're doing this is because our agenda did get canceled, or our meeting got canceled this Tuesday, so.
Madam Chair, if with your indulgence, would you mind going through the advisory boards and commissions? The clerk of the board needs to leave here in a few minutes, and she would like to probably address that for the board.
Okay, so before that, let's go ahead and go to advisory boards and commissions.
Sorry, I don't have the microphone back there, so I'm gonna pop up here with you guys. So the standing application for reappointment to the Agricultural Advisory Committee and the appointment application to the EMS Council have been included for review. The EMS Council had a chance to review Mr. Carroll's application at their last meeting and are recommending appointment. Excuse me, we have yet to receive an application for the Boundary Review Board, and I'm still waiting for a response to my follow-up from the Black Lake Special District on the recruitment efforts. Also included in your packet was a request from the chair of the Agricultural Advisory Committee for some clarification on the committee's expansion.
It's attached. As you may recall, when you were contemplating the appointments for the Agricultural Advisory Committee, there is a limit of the non-farmers. Yeah. And the board wanted to look at the options to expand the number of representatives in the Agricultural Advisory Committee. And Mr. Johanna provided a perspective as to how that could be accomplished.
So part of his request, I wasn't sure because Mr. Hanna had indicated in that email that they had communicated that there was an upcoming vacancy. But I think that there was some information that was lost in translation. I had received an email from the staff contact in January asking about the resignation process because they had a member that was contemplating on not requesting reappointment when their term expired. But I didn't receive an actual notification from that member that they were going to not seek reappointment until the 17th of February. So at this moment, I wasn't sure if you wanted to possibly rescind the appointment of Ms. Waxwing as an ex officio and amend it to change it to a non-farmer position because the person who is currently not seeking reappointment is a non-farmer seat, or if you wanted to touch base with the chair of the board and provide some clarification to him on the expansion of that one additional ex officio seat that was appointed last week.
I guess my idea would be, we did the ex officio just because we wanted to get her kind of in there to get it started. And I don't know that we need to revoke it or just put her on for this new seat. I don't know that do we have to revoke something?
Amend the appointment,
Just amend the appointment.
just amend it.
I mean, I think that's what we ought to do. It would be quicker and cleaner and get it over with. She's been waiting a while.
I'm going through the email. Commissioner Munster, do you have any?
I wasn't here last week, so I didn't know what you guys did, but I wanted her on there to begin with, so I have no problem with Commissioner Edwards' suggestion because she was my selection and the Ag Committee selection as well, so I think we should just do that if that's an available seat. I did skim this email about the farmer and non-farmer positions, but you know, I don't know. Maybe we've sidestepped the whole need to talk about expansion if we don't have that problem right now.
So maybe next Tuesday morning, we can revisit this item. But in the meantime, Mr. Carroll was reviewed by his application. The EMS Council, they provided recommendations to go ahead and for you to consider appointment. So at least I would like to probably the board weigh in on Mr. Tom Carroll's appointment to the
Carol,
EMS
Edwards,
Council.
and Yancey are all thumbs up for me.
You're good.
So the recommendation, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah,
is-
I'm smart, am I getting so argumentative that you can't hardly believe it?
No, I'm trying to read your mind. Haven't developed that skill yet.
So the recommendation is to have, Stella, I believe her name is,
Stella Waxwing.
as an ex officio until the,
Until you have the opportunity to expand the board.
well, yeah.
Yeah, so.
And that's what, the action that we took on.
Right.
That's not what I heard, Commissioner Edwards.
No,
motion to
I was
be-
saying just put her in there on that open,
We have an open spot.
there's an open spot, let's just put her in there.
There's a current seat member that's gonna be having her term expire on the 26th of this
It's
month.
New information.
Who
and-
doesn't wanna be reappointed?
Yeah, she doesn't wanna seek reappointment, so with that non-farmer seat opening up on the 26th, the question was, would you prefer to amend her appointment to, that new seat after the 26th, or? Just go ahead and do that.
Okay, we're all agreed, yes.
Perfect.
Okay, good.
Perfect. Other than that, outside of any other questions, I did follow, like I said, I did follow up with the Black Lake Special District, and as soon as they get back to me about their meeting on the 20th, I'm hoping to have a further update on Tuesday.
And then, so I have a recommendation for the board as well, for the reappointment of Jacob Yancey to the Ag Advisory Committee, as well as Grace Edwards is also a reappointment to the Historic Commission. And if commissioners are okay with moving forward, oh, and that Tom Carroll,
I'm careful for the EMS Council.
for the EMS Council, are commissioners ready to move forward on those three?
Good to go, I think, Commissioner Menzer said.
And then we're gonna see an amendment to Stella Waxwing's appointment.
Okay,
is what I'm-
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Those items will be added to the agenda. Hey, Jamie, anything for proclamations?
There was a request that was sent over, let me pull it up really quick.
I have the copy too.
Okay, thank you. That this proclamation be added to the schedule. It was for, I believe it was for Women's Day, or not Women's Day,
It was the Women's Club of Olympia.
Women's Club of Olympia. It's for their 140th anniversary.
So this is kind of a draft proposal that was sent over to us. They are celebrating it on March 10th. And so March 7th would be when we would have that availability. I wanted to bring it up. I'm not wanting Commissioners' decision today, but just wanted to bring that up for your attention. That way we can possibly have discussion about it next Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm good with it right now, so you do whatever, you're the boss.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Lions Club.
We did.
Where's the Kiwanis?
Was that
Kiwanis.
the door?
The Kiwanis Club.
Oh, Kiwanis Club, that was the door.
Right.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we'll jump back to the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting of February 28th, 2023. Call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Menser. Approval of the Tuesday, February 28th, 2023 agenda. We have a presentation that day, and it's for Women's History Month proclamation. I'm wondering, since we're doing the proclamation that day, can these two be combined?
This proclamation that you're proposing? Yeah. And so have two on Tuesday, is that what you're suggesting?
I'm wondering if there's a way,
Just takes a minute longer.
yeah, I mean, it's 2, 3, 4 whereases, they're pretty short. I'm looking at
I'll
Commissioner
read whatever you want me to read.
Metzer.
I just feel, we had this discussion when the Elks had their thing, and
Uh-huh. I think the door is open.
Creating a
I think the door is
recognition, not a
open.
proclamation, so I'm trying to be consistent, which is hard.
You know, never fails.
It
There's
never
always,
fails.
they always come a little bit different, request, but, so
I'm
I
just
guess
saying
there,
if there's a way that can be combined, that way we get,
you mean combining a single proclamation or?
yeah, or something, just maybe, you know,
One right after the other, I
well,
think.
because it's Women's History Month, right? And,
It could be like a recognition appended to the broader, umbrella of Women's History Month, and this is a
Yeah.
local example.
yes. we
Women's
could-
Club in Olympia
The-
as a historical,
Okay, so I see that how you understand what you're saying? Maybe just adding on the Women's History Month, a proclamation related to this proclamation?
well, what I'm saying is, how about a proclamation, Women's History Month?
Yeah.
Immediately followed by sort of a couple paragraphs of recognition, bring everybody up for a photo, it's all part of the umbrella of Women's History Month, rather than formally reading two separate proclamations, because that would be more consistent with how we handled the Elks.
That's how we handle it, it's just a statement
It's
recognizing
almost
this
like this is
event.
this is recognition plus, because by appending it to the proclamation, and then, they get to come up for a photo, and we'll give them, if they wanna, having it as one presentation, they can say something if they want, or whatever. But it's not like we have to go through the separate formal reading of separate proclamations.
So
'Cause-
would you like me to do like because you did the recognition for was it the Elks?
It was Elks, yeah.
And then, so do like a small
Anniversary.
recognition at the beginning or towards the end of the proclamation?
I would think,
I think at the end.
we could take their proclamation and just take the
Do-
whereases out, make
Right.
it, just put all the same information.
Okay,
into
so
it.
we'll give you a paragraph related to this, and then you will read the proclamation, and you will follow up with its statement.
You could sort of
Photo
say,
ops
we
and-
want to connect this matter of local history and significance, connected to Women's History Month, and some of our local leaders, and then boom, go into what the relevant details are that they want, stated.
Yep.
And then we can all do a large photo
Yeah.
with the groups that come.
That way, it's not another proclamation, it can be combined and it can be, okay, sounds good. Okay, after that presentation, there will be an opportunity for the public to address the board, and next is county manager's update.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be predicting what type of public testimony you will receive, but certainly you will. And related to the county manager's update, you received public testimony from high school students last year where they staged at Diane related to the climate crisis. What I'm planning to do is, in response to that, is a lot of efforts the county has gone through and address some of their concerns. So I will give the floor to Rebecca Harvey to walk us through what the county has done, and that we'll respond to the public testimony. That will be the,
Was there a die-in last week?
Yeah.
How did it
oh, yeah,
go?
that's right, you missed it.
How many folks were here?
Probably it
7
was
or 8.
7, 8, but 4
4 lined up.
students laid on the floor.
I saw them getting out of the cars.
I think we were expecting to remain in that position for the rest of the meeting. After the public testimony, they got up and left, but that was fine. I think they achieved their objective of making their point, so that's how I'm planning to respond to that. Any questions?
Yes. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
I know that the Jolt is doing an article, a follow-up from the meeting article, apparently they did. And so they want to have all that information, because I've told them we've done a lot,
Yeah.
but I couldn't remember.
So.
So they want
yes,
that
so,
information. When you get it done, I'd like to give it to them ahead of time,
Yeah,
actually.
absolutely, and also we'll invite them to watch the board meeting on Tuesday.
Okay.
I guess it would be good for Rebecca to kind of say what we've done, but also kind of pointing towards the future on things that are, things that we're going to be doing or she's working on. Because saying things we've done it's great, but also pointing towards the things that we're aiming at too is, I think we'll also highlight, you know, where we're going or the path that we're aiming at.
We'll do that.
So we're gonna
Okay.
put that solar farm in where the airport was going.
Get it in there now.
Absolutely.
Okay, next, consent agenda, there's, matters 3A through 3C. The first item, 3A, from Emergency Services, Department of Natural Resources, DNR, interagency agreement.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The DNR is planning to perform capacity tests on their wildland firefighting employees as a testing and a training. They conduct that annually, and they have requested Medic One to provide the necessary support in terms of personnel, equipment, materials, and emergency medical services on the test sites. DNR is going to be reimbursing for every single hour and every single staff cost related to this support. So this agreement give us the instrument as to how we can recuperate the cost for the support the DNR is requesting. This is going from March 15, 2023 through June 30th, 2026. So there is not a cost to the county, and there's a good cooperating agreement that we have with the Department of Natural Resources.
Thank you. Ben, anything you'd like to add?
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards? Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
Can they pay us in trees that they don't cut?
Sequestration.
No questions
That
for
was
me.
an inside joke, by the way.
Item 3B from the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The County Sheriff Sanders have been looking at the overall operations of the Sheriff's Office, and they have concluded that perhaps a reclassification is in need to address the current needs of their operations as they move forward. So this particular request is for you to consider reclassifying a legal assistant position to the office system administrator. This has an impact on the budget from $5,244 to $9,978 per month. This classification, that is $4,734 per month, or 90% increase. I believe this is something the county, the Sheriff's Office is going to be absorbing on the current budget, but as Commissioner Edwards has stated, this will become a part of the base budget as when you approve the biennial budget here in the fall of this year. I believe this is a good approach the Sheriff's Office has taken to address the current needs and current and future needs of their operations. I know that at some point the Sheriff Sanders wanted to create a position, and creating a position under those circumstances of cycle, and this is a good approach as to how the Sheriff's Office can exercise some of the options available to them. And Sheriff Sanders is here, as well with his staff, to answer any questions.
Sheriff Sanders, anything you'd like to add, sir?
Yes, good afternoon to Chairwoman and members of the board. Thank you for having us. Just a few things. I met with each of you individually, and this was our top priority to fix. When we first took office, our current systems administrator gave us about a 5-minute overview about how overloaded she was and that it wasn't going to work moving forward. So we made this a top priority. As an administration, we pride ourselves in trying to find solutions internally without having to run to the board every single time we run into a problem. This is something that we determined internally. It's going to be difficult to ask for a new FTE outside of a budget cycle, but we could find basically empty workload within our own department and try and do a conversion instead. You know, as we've seen, the current legal assistant is vacant, so we're not going to be laying anyone off. It's a vacant position. And with COVID, the Blake decision, and a number of other things, our jail capacity being low, the warrant division workload has dropped off significantly. In this same time period, we've seen the introduction of body cams, dash cams, RMS, JMS consortium. All these different things have been coming together that are technology based. And so for a department that has over 250 FTEs, we have one tech person, one systems administrator, and it's just become too much. We've been doing a lot with a little in that regard. And so we're asking that, obviously this position be converted. Chief Carter's off to my left here, if you guys want any of the documentation that she has to kind of show the two trends between the positions. We brought all that information for you, but, yeah, open to any questions, of course.
Yeah.
So is this position that you're reclassifying in the sheriff's office or is it in corrections?
You know, frankly, with the way that our budget, or correction, our vacancy savings and things are gonna look like, it may end up in the Corrections Bureau. Because then we would have a systems administrator on the patrol side and a systems administrator on the jail side. And frankly, because we have to absorb this 90% difference, our vacancy savings in the jail is going to far outweigh what we're gonna have on the patrol side.
Sure. But your appropriation is separate, so wherever the position currently exists, that's where it needs to be. If you're reclassifying like in the corrections
Yeah.
budget, then that's where it'll be.
Yeah, currently it's in the
So
patrol.
You can't move in between.
Okay, then it'll have to come out of patrol and we'll have to figure that part out,
All right.
especially obviously our overtime.
And also there's an opportunity to shift, we have an amendment later in this year that we can probably facilitate that.
I think that's what we might have to look at doing, yeah. Our vacancy savings in the jail is going to be.
Yeah, so
extreme, so-
I think there's some opportunities, if you see coming down the road, leading to June of this year, if there's an opportunity to balance between the two appropriations, we'll facilitate that.
Excellent.
Okay. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I guess, I don't wanna bug you about that at this point in time, but just so I'm knowledgeable about it, I'd like to know, it's something new. Yeah, could I just, no, you don't need to go over it. You said you brought it along, so I could just glance at it. Is that okay?
Absolutely. So this reflects like, our current warrant status, the position, and how it's decreased over the last 3 years because of COVID, because of the Blake decision, all those other factors. And then this shows the workload of our current systems administrator, and then all of the new technology we brought in for transparency, accountability, all of those factors. So these are the two pieces. It's not pretty, but I brought it along as the agenda item.
My only question would be if there was a way to pay for this out of, I don't know, the jail funding source, is that possible, so it doesn't come out of general fund?
Detention sales tax.
Yeah. I mean,
think
it's just
it-
something worth looking into.
Fund is pretty.
Maxed out.
Yeah, we build all kinds of stuff to that.
Well, we're always stretching. I like to stretch as much as I possibly can.
If I thought that there was capacity there, then that would be.
Okay, I mean, just worth thinking about is all
We
possibly.
have till next year to figure that out.
Until, this October, we'll go through the detention sales tax in more detail. That might be an opportunity for you to explore that option.
It might have kicked in a little more funding is what I'm thinking. We could at least look there and
As
alleviate.
long as the work is at jail, then.
Well, it looks like it might
I
be.
thought you're gonna be asking if ARPA funds can cover this.
I like to stretch, but I know that was gonna be too much, so.
So if I can just add, we've had one systems administrator since Commissioner Edwards was the sheriff. Back in the 90s is when we started that. And we've survived with one, and we're just to the point with the, the cameras and the new systems. You just can't do it with one anymore. We're far above our capacity.
And on top of that, she's on call 24/7 and there's no breaks for her. And so she's completely at capacity, if not over.
Commissioner Munster, anything?
No, I spoke to the sheriff about it, so I think I'm okay.
I'm okay with that, but I guess I'll go back to the point that I've been making from the very beginning and the outlook when we're adding cameras, when we're adding all these different technologies
Thank you.
on there and not having that future outlook of the impact that it's going to have on staff and how, when we're doing these big upgrades, I think, and this is not relating to the sheriff's office, this is something that I've been saying for a while now, as we're going through these big system upgrades, that we need to really look at the impact that it's going to have, not only once the system is set up, but long-term as well. And I think this just plays really well into that. As we approved the cameras and the dash cams and approved the sheriff's office to go into this new system, not knowing, right? And I think that's something that we really need to start looking at when we're doing these big system upgrades, is looking at the staffing needs long-term, because there is that impact.
Yeah, absolutely on point. And in fact, welcoming the new IT director, that was the first item that we highlighted that we need to work this year. And you will see a comprehensive analysis when you review the biennial budget this fall. Because that's right on point.
And if I might just add to, obviously, when we're converting things like this, it doesn't take away the fact that if the jail does start to open up, if, you know, the Blake decision does get fixed this year, which it looks like it will, our warrant division is going to pick back up again. So we are shifting a workload currently, but it doesn't change the fact that we might be right back at the same table saying, hey, the workload for our warrants division has changed. And that can look a number of different ways, especially as things trickle back in. We can look at things like opening up an overtime detail instead of a full FTE for warrants and things like that to get that work done. But I just want to also reiterate that it's not a long-term fix necessarily. It just helps our burden right now.
Any further questions, comments? Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Keep us safe out there now.
Working on it.
Thank you. Next is item 3C from the treasurer's office.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your consideration is a surplus property and a map of this particular property is attached to your agenda item. So this particular property is 0.11 acres. And the total, right now, the assessed value is $17,900. And I believe the board always look as to what will be the impact on the general fund. The treasurer's office has made a calculation, has an impact of $17.80. The proposal is to surplus this property at a total sale price of $3,107.50. And that includes all the attached fees within that context. So Treasurer Gadman is here to add additional perspective and answer any particular questions the board has.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your time this afternoon. Another notch in our continuing effort to try to get these properties back on the tax roll. This one was fairly easy. Look at the map. There's two rectangles on either side of this particular property. You'll notice they have the same parcel number. So the person that is interested in this particular property we're talking about today bought that parcel, which is those two lots, at our tax auction in January. So it's logical for him to want to buy this middle piece to try and amass a little bit larger piece of land. It's still gonna be tricky to develop. There's steep slopes there, wetland buffer. It's in a wetland buffer. Right now, the city of Olympia does not have water to this property, and they're not willing to commit to supplying water to this property. But, you know, if somebody wants it and is willing to pay the taxes on it, then let's get it to them.
Are there houses in there around, on these other properties?
So this is, 22nd Avenue that goes between Boulevard Road and East Side Street, goes past the Church of Living Water. This is very near the Church of Living Water. There's houses all along 22nd Avenue there. This is also very near Kane Road. But this is a block off from 22nd. So there are no houses. I mean, very near is a relative term, but this is in an undeveloped portion of this particular neighborhood.
Does 21st come down here and dead end, or?
Yeah, the pavement stops right about where you see the words.
Commissioner Mensah. Oh, did you have Commissioner Mensah question?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions for me? Thank you.
And Eric, I'm gonna be on vacation next week, so Eric will be sitting here in my spot next week.
All right, see you guys later.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to department items from 4A from the auditor's office is the approval of the voucher list for the week of February 6, 2023.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is on your department items for you to consider approving the voucher list for the week of February 6, 2023 for a combined amount of $1,561,361.18. This includes remnants of the atrium expenditures related to the tenant improvements, and that is what is in your department item.
Questions?
When are we gonna be done with this part of it? I mean, when are we gonna get to just everyday expenses?
Maybe you think in a month or so? Yeah.
We're still waiting on pieces
Okay.
of things to come, the
Yeah, just,
supply chain, I mean, cable.
well, I appreciate you doing this, thank you. I'm good.
And it's $2,000 here, $2,000 there, because the majority of the expenses are.
At some point, we gotta get into
lease
just
payments.
doing, it's a regular business. Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanna get through this segment.
Too.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on to emergency services. Item 5A, federal fiscal year 2022 emergency management performance grant funding agreement.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The Federal Emergency Management Performance Grant, what we call the EMPG, provides annual funding to support local emergency management programs and capabilities throughout the state. This fund is primarily used to support Thurston County emergency preparedness, public education programs, resource management, and logistics planning and preparedness and mitigation planning, including a full-time emergency management coordinator position. This is a grant that coming to the state, from the state to the county is $176,697 and requires a 50% match. The 50% match is already included on the base budget, so there is not a request for additional budget appropriation that has been already in the works. This period of time for this grant is from June 1st, 2022 through September 30, 2023. The board may ask as to why we have waited since June 1st, 2022 to bring this item before you, is that the state, you can blame it to the supply chain issues. I'm just kidding. They just give us the green light in January of this particular grant, and that is probably why the delay on this particular items that is before you. Ben is here to elaborate a little bit more or answer any questions.
Ben, anything you'd like to add?
That covered it perfectly. Let me know if you have any questions on the grant process.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah? Okay, no questions for me either. Next is Public Health and Social Services. There are 7 items for this. So I'm going to ask that any items that can be combined to be combined.
I don't believe that we can combine it, but we can go through
Well,
it.
I'm just saying, if there are any items that can be
I
combined.
perhaps D&E could, but we can touch base on that if the board feels comfortable on that.
Okay, let's start.
So,
6A is the amendment to extend the contract for Thurston County Chamber Foundation for Thurston Thrives backbone support for 1 year.
yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a yearly event in which the board enters into an agreement with the Chamber Foundation, which is the backbone of Thurston Thrives Coordinating Council. This has been a long-standing support. The county has given to Thurston Thrives, which it really addresses 2 key elements, is they improve the health outcomes for all and also improve the community health wellness as well as safety. You had a couple of briefings related to this matter, and as you may recall, the context and the organization changed a little bit of the Thurston Thrives last year. And early in the year, you got a briefing from the executive director of Thurston Thrives to give you some of the early wins of the new structure. So this, for your consideration, is to sign an amendment with the current contract that we have with Thurston Thrives for $40,000. With this amendment, the combined amount since 2019 is $200,000. you had a conversation, the $40,000. Sorry,
$40,000,
for this year.
is that what it was last year?
Yeah, it's been 40,000, but since we have a baseline, we continue to amend it, we just added the total cumulative cost, which is so far 200,000. So the $40,000 is included on your budget that you approve under the general fund. However, you requested the department to look the opportunity to look at foundational public health to be able to cover this cost, and I believe that is the case. So this $40,000 will be covered by foundational public health, task one.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, if it's funded from foundation.
Chris is here to add additional perspective, answer any questions.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chris Hawkins, Thurston County Public Health and Social Services Program Manager on Education and Prevention, and County Manager Chavez covered the basics of this very well. We're hoping for your consideration and approval of this contract amendment for 2023 to support Thurston Thrives continuing. Happy to answer any questions.
And this is, we did have a briefing with Thurston Thrives. I believe you were at some cover is what you were at. You were at a conference, I remember that.
Yeah, earlier, were you out?
I feel
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
saw it.
Okay.
He was,
But you attended the breakfast that we had back in
Yeah.
October,
yeah,
right, which they walked through the organization.
Yeah.
So it was the same presentation, but here I give us a little more information related to the early wins, how they have already been able to use this money as a seed money to secure some of outside funding from some of the hospitals too. So I think it's a good plan as we need to move forward.
okay. I would still like to kind of have the same ask that we did last year of those metrics. I think it's good data for us to have. It was a good presentation that we received, and I know that they did it at the breakfast before, but it was just good to track that. And
I believe a breakfast is trying to be scheduled with elected officials, which all of you are part of that group. We can dive a little more into the details, but I think even the Commissioner was asked an excellent question. And meaning, this is the data, this is the current status. What is it that we're going to gain by that investment? And I think I paraphrase that question was in terms of performance indicators. And I think that's part of the future of Thurston Thrives, because obviously we need to maintain the data. At some point, we need to see what is it that we gaining in the system, but as a result of this investment, and that is part of the next steps.
no further questions. Moving on to item 6B, ESG CV contracts for homeless services.
So those are related, item B and C. Well, maybe. And so I'd like to, first of all, maybe reverse the items for your consideration. And the item 6B is receiving additional funding from Commerce. Related is for $851,400. And this particular money is coming from the CARES Act that has been given to the county to fund programs throughout the Washington state. And as you may recall, the county received an initial allocation of $627,000 of these funds back in November 2020. Then following up, the county received an additional $3,255,000. And then we have an additional $285,000 related to the same in January 2022. Well, the Department of Commerce have extra money, have reached out to the county to see if we can utilize this additional funding. So this particular item 6C, which will reverse the thought is to amend the contract that we have with the Department of Commerce to receive the additional $851,440, for a total combined amount of $4,955,885. And this needs to be spent by September 30, 2023. Following up with, I'm sorry.
No, I thought she was gonna ask for questions.
Following up to item 6B is how we're gonna be utilizing the additional money in distributing the contracts to the providers. And the proposal item 6B, which it will be 6C, it will be to community services, youth services for emergency shelter in the Rossi's Place for $76,201. To the City of Olympia for hygiene services for $46,893 and some cents. Mutual aid partners for outreach on efforts for $365,430.76. Interfaith Works for the First Christian Emergency Shelter for $293,082 and some cents. And last but not least, the Partners in Prevention Outreach for an outreach efforts for $49,824, and that will bring a total of $831,000.
There's two different numbers there. One's 31 and one's 51. 851, 440 and 831, 440.
That's what we have Tom to clarify that.
Yeah, and that is the $20,000 we are keeping for our admin to pay for the staff to oversee those contracts.
That's all you're getting out of 800,000 is 20?
Yep, that's all we need.
So that's the only thing that's allowed.
We don't have a standard thing that we get like 10% for admin or something?
Well, yeah, I think
We-
go ahead, Tom.
I'm sorry. Yes, we do. However, because of the short time frame to spend these funds, we wouldn't be able to spend the full 10% within the last kind of few months. So we have other admin funds that we use for our staff. So the 20,000 is sufficient for our admin needs to cover the remaining costs of these contracts.
Okay.
So you'll see those two items reversed. One is to accept the money and the other one is to distribute the money. Can you work with Jamie on that one, Tom, to reverse the items?
Yes, thank you for that.
The next two items, that's probably what you may consider combining. And Madam Chair has been well involved with those two items, so I will cover both as a matter of background. Items, last 5, is it 5? No, 6. 6D and 6E, D and E. And this is related to the Regional Housing Council, the amendment number 2 the board just approved last week. As you may recall, the amendment number 2 of the Regional Housing Council included combining the efforts of the home fund between the county and the City of Olympia. And also within that context, created 2 subcommittees out of the Regional Housing Council. One is the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, and the other one is the Homeless Services Advisory Committee. Within the context, how the selection process of those individuals who will be serving in that committee, the applications were submitted to the Regional Housing Council. There was a review committee. The Regional Housing Council with Commissioner Mejia served on that review committee. And the result of that review and assessment was presented some recommendations to the Regional Housing Council for appointments. And the Regional Housing Council recommended full approval for the board to appoint members to one is the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, and the other is for the Homeless Services Advisory Committee. For the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, I can read the names. It will be Deb Leron from Yelm, David Pesquit, sorry, I'm gonna butcher the last name. Peswick from Olympia, Meg Martin from unincorporated Thurston County, Tallulah Reed from Olympia, Carlia Messenger from unincorporated Thurston County, Carly Colden from Tumwater, Grace Lee from Olympia, Kendra Landis from Olympia, Trudy Succumb from Lacey, Trish Gregory from unincorporated Thurston County, Craig Chance from unincorporated Thurston County, Jesse Simmons, unincorporated Thurston County, and Donna Featherin from unincorporated Thurston County. Those are the recommendations from the Regional Housing Council to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And for the Homeless Response Advisory Committee, the recommendations for appointments as are follow is for Thierry Lino from Olympia, Stephanie Reneur from Olympia, Kevin Hill from Olympia, Joshua Cheney from unincorporated Thurston County, Jim Brown from unincorporated Thurston County, Candice Garman from Lacey, Anthony Ducote from Olympia, Anna Schlett from Olympia, Tammy Smith from Olympia, Leslie Van Lisoth from Lacey, and Nova Patton from Olympia. As you can see, the reason that I'm saying Olympia, Lacey, unincorporated Thurston County, because the effort of the Regional Housing Council is to have representation countywide to those two subcommittees. So I will stop there to have any questions. And again, this might be an opportunity to combine it to a single item where you may take a single action to recommend the nominees for both the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee and the Homeless Response Advisory Committee.
And that wasn't what I was saying, like, when you're presenting, if you can combine these items, not to actually like
Oh, okay, got it.
meld like the motions into one item, but just when you're presenting to just kind of.
Like I did now?
Yes,
Okay,
like
thank you.
that was my whole thing, if they can be presented together, if they were similar enough. But no, I think two separate motions is fine. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Do we need to, move to appoint the recommended nominees recommended by, who made those recommendations?
By the Regional Housing Council. We can clarify the motion if you like.
I just thought that might, I don't know, to the Regional Housing Council, and they're to the Regional Housing Councils, but it's by the Regional
The
Housing Council.
Regional Housing Council provided recommendations for you to appoint nominees to the subcommittees of the Regional Housing Council.
All these, we're gonna be appointing people, I take it, that we don't know, we're based on somebody else's recommendation. And you've been through, you're okay with it? I guess that's my
Yeah,
question.
so I
You
was,
okay?
I was in the interview panel for the subcommittees and both of these subcommittees, and we had such a great pool of applicants. And it was really hard to kind of make decisions on who was chosen, and I'm looking at Tom, because Tom can back me up and any of these, and there was a lot of great discussion. And so basically, the chairs of these two subcommittees will be serving on the actual Regional Housing Council in the future as non-voting members. So, we had a separate committee made out of staff, the chair and the vice chair from the Regional Housing Council who did interviews. The Regional Housing Council reviewed the applications and reviewed the members who we recommended, and they approved those. And so now then, this is kind of the last step of approval for the Board of County Commissioners.
Well, I'm okay if you're okay, I guess, is the way I'm looking at it.
Yep, I'm fine if you think that if you voted for that slate, I'm good.
So if I may, that was a very comprehensive process. They went through and reviewing applications, having interviews with each one of them, and making that determination. So I agree with Commissioner Mejia's perspective on this. So is there any clarification that needs to be on the motion, Commissioner?
I don't think so. I'm gonna say the chair is good, I'm good.
So the next items are gonna cover both again, because they're related, and also we'll reverse those two items. The item 6G will become item 6F, and 6F will become 6G. So the premise of this is, as you may recall, the county embarked on a partnership with the region and the Washington State Department of Transportation to address the encampments on their right-of-way. The result of that, the state give us some money to do some specific strategies. One of them is the city of Olympia received some money to a tiny homes development on the Franz Anderson site. The county participated in purchasing that site. That's one example. The other big example was the state. In coordination with the county and the CWAC, we purchased a motel located on the Hawkesbury area. That purchase has already occurred, and that is not owned by any jurisdiction, it's owned by Lehigh. So within in the back end of the purchase of this hotel, the state agreed to fund the operations of the hotel for a certain period of time. So these items before you does two things. The current item 6G is to have an amendment with the interagency agreement of Washington State Department of Commerce to receive the additional money, which is $6,100,000. So the total contract with the state is $10,720,800. In item 6F, which will become 6G, confusing, will be to set aside to have a contract with the Low Income Housing Institute Lehigh, who owns the hotel, to initiate the $6 million for them to fund the operations of it. The difference, I believe, between the 6 million and the 6,100,000 is for the administrative cost, I believe, Commissioner Edwards. So the first item is to receive the money from the Department of Commerce as a result of the right-of-way initiative, addressing the homeless encampments along the right-of-way, state's right-of-way. And the second item is to enter into an agreement with Low Income Housing Institute to provide the resources, in this case funding, for them to operate the motel. Tom? Anything to add?
No, that was a great summary. The only thing I'd add is that contract to operate the hotel will go through June 30th of 2025. At that point, we'll be working with Lehigh to convert that property into permanent supportive housing. So that's approximately not quite a 2.5-year contract to operate the enhanced shelter.
Okay, questions?
That didn't come out of any of our budget stuff. It's passed through money, right?
Yeah, it's all grant funded.
Is there anything in here that starts to help give preferential treatment or priority to people that have been here longer than others that are our own homegrown problem?
Not necessarily directly related to that question, Commissioner, but we have been exploring some of the operations, and I think with Lehigh. And we know that perhaps the hotel has more capacity for those individuals who will be vacated from the estates right away. It was very clear in the MOU, we lobby for that before Lehigh opens up the additional capacity, Thurston County will have a first take on those capacity needs. So there is an attempt to address to a larger extent what you're saying, Commissioner. And that's part of the MOU, is that correct, Tom? We negotiated with Commerce.
Yeah, that's correct. So the first priority is those people living on states right of way in Thurston County. So the priority will be those living along Slater Kenny, the city center encampments along the states right of way will be the priority for that. And then after that, if there's still space available, it will be other folks living in encampments within Thurston County and through our coordinated entry system.
Yep.
But nothing to keep somebody coming from Kansas City and getting in front of the line.
At this point, if they're not on the right of way, they cannot know because it's for people who are currently in Thurston County, currently on the state's right of way.
Right, but they came from Kansas City and got it 2 weeks ago, and they know the system, so they're gonna get in front of the line. Nothing to prevent that. Is that right?
I'll just say it's for people who are currently on the state's right of way in Thurston County.
Questions, Commissioner Mentor? Okay. Next two items. We have 2 minutes. I'm just
And later on, you have 3:30, you have
Yeah.
2 public hearings.
So we will go through our standing items, and then at 3:30, we have 2 public hearings. The first item is a public hearing for precinct boundary changes and county commissioner district legal description.
And we'll modify the motion. One is they move to close the public hearing, and the action they will take will combine the action. No need to have 2 different actions on that. We'll revise that for next week, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any questions on that? Commissioner Edwards?
No.
Commissioner Menzer? Okay, and then the next public hearing from Community Planning and Economic Development is public hearing for Development Code Docket Item A-18, Agricultural Activities, Critical Areas Update.
Similar to the previous item for your consideration, you'll have 2 actions. One to close the public hearing, and depending on the public testimony you might receive, for your consideration to approve the Development Code Docket Item A-18. If the board, depending on the board, system would like to delay that action, certainly we can schedule a follow-up briefing on that.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Well, if we approve it, then we can add another item to the docket. No,
Sure,
can't do
answer.
that? Okay.
Okay, no questions for me?
That
With
was quick. That was quick.
Yeah, it is quick. 4 p.m., we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.